Hey everyone, Ryan here with Rays Latest, and today we're going to talk about three new additions that the Rays have made over the past day, and as well as the arbitration deadline that is coming up today, Thursday, January 8th at 1 p.m. First, kind of want to talk about these three new additions, minor league contracts that we signed, but they're a little more appealing because of the two of them with the major league experience, and it's a little kind of interesting kind of see how that plays out. The first one is just Brian Van Bell is re-signed to a 2-year minor league contract. He was outrighted to AAA earlier this offseason and then was released after undergoing elbow surgery. He's expected to miss all of 2026 anyways. And I kind of talked briefly about him in the past when he was originally DFA'd and released. And I do really like the stuff that he has, and I'm not going to go too much further into depth about it again, but I do kind of like what he brings to the mound, and just barring his injury problem that he's had since he's been in professional baseball. So we'll kind of see how he kind of turns it around after his Tommy John is over with after 2026, and kind of see how 2027 kind of unfolds for him. But the other two that I'm a little more interested in is Blake Sobel, catcher, and Edward Olivares, who's an outfielder. And the one that kind of is most intriguing to me is Blake Sobel. Sobel. He from a major league perspective, it was weird. So I don't know what kind of happened from a major league standpoint with him, but in 2023 for the Giants, he played 110 games at catcher, and it wasn't a bad year by any means. He hit 235, 13 homers, 45 RBIs, walked 24 times. The strikeout numbers were a little high with a little over one a game on average. But defensively, he made, if I have my calculations correct, he made 6 errors all year behind the plate. And it's so the defensive ability is a little as above average from just a standpoint of making errors and being able to throw out runners. I didn't delve too far deeply into framing and positioning and things of that nature, but just from a pure perspective of he was hitting 240 as a catcher with 13 homers, with a little bit of power, kind of low walk rate, decently high strikeout rate. So that's a little kind of concerning. But he didn't really play again in the major leagues after that year. He was just up and down between triple and double A in 24 and 25 with a couple major league stints here and there. But I think the big thing that was kind of interesting to me was kind of going through his game by game log from that 2023 year. There was only a handful of games, less than half, I would say, where he complete was played a complete game. And there was a lot of games where he was lifted in the sixth, in the seventh inning, rarely ever late enough in the eighth and ninth inning. It was more he kind of got he was with the starter through six and then was pulled with the starter when his kind of time in the lineup kind of transitioned back around. So that's kind of an interesting thing to see if maybe he's got a tough matchup problem with right on rights and he's more of a lefty hitter. It's interesting, or and I don't necessarily kind of know what the Rays' plans are with him, obviously. But I think that with the kind of the depleted catching room that we have currently, it's one of those. It's a cheap deal, minor league deal that it's like, hey, if you prove yourself, you have an invite to big league camp. If you can prove yourself, you you can break the big league roster at some point during the season. And I think that that's just kind of what they're looking for, just a cheap option to maybe possibly get you a 250 average with 15 home runs in the major league season. I think that's kind of what they're looking for, and I think that that's possible with him. So we'll kind of see how that kind of plays out with him. But the next is Edward Olivares. He in his major league career, he's hit 254, 30 homers, 100 RBIs, 16 stolen bases. But the thing is with him, it's kind of the same with Sobel. It's he played a lot in 2023 and he hit 263, hit 23 homers, or sorry, 23 doubles, 12 homers. And the strikeout numbers, he only struck out 64 times in like 120 games. And it's interesting to see because he never really broke a big league relative roster after that ever again. And in 2024, he hit 224 with 5 homers and 37 strikeouts in a lot less games. So the regression, you can kind of see the regression in both of their numbers kind of from 23 to 24. And he didn't even play on a big league roster in 2025. And so it's intriguing to see kind of what the disconnect is with these two players and kind of where their 2023 just went. And it looks, I don't know if it's a confidence thing. I don't know if it's just a fit thing. I don't know. And I think that's kind of what we're going to see in a minor league setting with them and kind of just see if we can get those numbers back and back in what we really want. So it's going to be kind of intriguing to see how they turn out. And they both have big league camp invites. So we'll kind of see how they do in spring training. They will start the year in AAA, obviously. And so we'll see what they do, what they can't do, and kind of go from there. But the next kind of the bigger thing is the arbitration deadline that's today at 1 p.m. So we have 10 players that are arbitration eligible for the deadline today. We're able to shave off about 30 million of our cap space this year by getting rid of 11.5 from Brandon Lau, 11 from Fairbanks. Shane Boz is gone, dropping Christopher Morel and a few other people. And then we've kind of added so far about 18 million with Matz, Fraley, and Cedric Mullins in kind of contract space. So we're looking at kind of a opening day payroll of anywhere between 85 to 90 million. And from a race standpoint, that's a little bit better than normal. Not too much better, but a little bit better. And so we still have 10 players. So Pepio is projected to get about 3.7, Griffin Jax about 3.6, Clevenger about 2.1, Josh Lowe about 2.9, Fortes about 2.4. We already kind of dug into it a little bit because we started the offseason with 16 players eligible. Kind of dug into that by signing Walls, Clanahan, Sulcer, trading Boz, who is probably going to get around 3 million, and dropping Morel. That's a 2.6 million. Fairchild was 1, Fiota was 1 million. And so Brian Baker's also he's supposed to get about 1.5, Steven Wilson 1.5, you said at 1.4, Kevin Kelly 1, Richie Palacios 1. And so what's so big about this is that once we can kind of and nobody's really projected to get any more than that's their like kind of top of the line projections. That's kind of what we're going to be seeing they sign for. And so it's good for us because after today at 1 p.m., we're going to know exactly how much money we have for the rest of the offseason. And that should leave us with around 15 to $20 million in cap space to go out and get somebody or get multiple people. And I think that's a decent amount of money to kind of delve into some of these problems that we have. And I think that if we can't get Joe Boyle to kind of figure out or fix into this fifth starter role that I think that he should be in, behind the plate, second base, obviously big concerns that we need to fix. And I think that 15 to 20 million in cap space, I honestly think that could go get you JT Realmuto. And I think that with 15 to 20 million in cap space, you trade for Ketel Marte, you have enough money to pay him. And you have more than enough money to pay him. His salary is about, I think it's 16 million this year. So you'd have some left over at the end of that. Howbeit, if the Diamondbacks choose to not pick up any of his contract, which I don't think they would, but it gives you options and it gives you enough money to go out and get a significant addition to the lineup or to the rotation rather to fix minor problems, major problems that we have. And I think that once that deadline hits, I think that's kind of where Neander is kind of like, hey, we got 1 p.m. today. We're going to know exactly how much money we need that we have at 1 p.m. and we can use this money to go because they're not going to not spend it, obviously. So once you get that kind of set number of like, hey, this is how much money we have, this is how much money we can use, that makes it a little bit easier to commit to bigger contracts with players if that's where they want to go, that's where I kind of think they should go. And if you go get Real Muto for $14 million a year, I'm okay with that. Obviously, like I am perfectly okay with that. And I think that the real need is at second base. But I think that if you could platoon Walls, Palacios, Williams at second base, it's not going to be the worst thing in the world. Definitely not from a defensive standpoint. From a hitting standpoint, it will get pretty dicey. So I think that could be that's going to be a major need that we're going to need with this extra money. Corner outfielder maybe. We've kind of seen some outfield moves in the recent couple weeks, so maybe the outfield is not as a prized possession kind of choice right now. So I'm thinking we're probably leaning more second base catcher additions, back end starter, veteran starter. So you guys let me know what you guys think about that. You guys have a great one.